I think we all should know by now what the procedure is if she's asking for an open marriage or an open relationship. You end that relationship. She's free to do whatever she wants anymore. So many cases, some guys would say, "Okay, I'll do it," and the girl gets jealous. Well, duh. Like she didn't think you would find anyone. Or he dumps her and she comes crawling back. It's just ridiculous. They're not worth it. They like to play these games. Look, you're free. Go be with whoever you want to be with. So, girlfriend wanted open relationship. Hey, True. Hope you good, you and your followers. I have another story of my girl looking for an open relationship. I don't know why it's like a pandemic these days when girls start looking for open marriages. So I met this girl. I will name her Mary. When we were like 26, when we met, I told this girl that I'm not for marriage because I don't want the government to make me sign some contract that will always put me on the wrong side no matter what. But I told her I'm all for loyalty and exclusivity. I'm not the best looking guy, but not bad either. I met this girl after I went through some terrible things with a girl, Becky, I met in high school. But this is another story I will send you some other time if you want to hear it. Anyway, back to Mary. When I met Mary, she was so beautiful and she knew she was hot. I had gotten out of prison and had to go to a community college and graduated as an architect. Thanks, Becky. When I met Mary, I was hired in a small company. The cash wasn't bad for a single person, but it could be better. I went on to have a few years of experience under my belt, and I started to go on my own. My business was doing great. I could afford few luxuries like an upper middle class lifestyle. Then one day, I had a customer come in with their family to ask for my service. Then I laid eyes on this chocolate beauty. The body was out of this world. When I say she was made from taking time, I mean if. Then at one point our eyes locked on each other and she shyly put her head down while smiling. We kept locking eyes throughout the meeting. So, after the meeting with her parents, I gave her dad my personal number so that we can go over any changes as I work on the project. The reason I gave him my personal number was so that when I'm at home after hours, we could just talk about projects and changes and so forth. After a day, I received a call from an unknown number. It was some girl and it was after hours. I asked who it was and she said her name is Mary. And I was like, I know no Mary. And she was like, but we have met and so forth. Then she told me was the daughter of my client and stuff. So we started talking and we hit it off and stuff. After a few months, we went on our first date. It was so well, we just complimented each other. The romance was out of this world. She told me she was an accountant in one of the big firms in the city and all that stuff. At that time, she was making more money than me, but she didn't mind at all. So after a year of dating and sleeping at each other's places, she asked me to move to her place because it was bigger and location was a good location. Not that my location was bad, but it was better than mine, that's for sure. So one of the worst things you can do as a guy is move into a girl's place. I learned the hard way. So after when I was there, I was made to pay for bills, buy groceries, and all expenses of the house, holiday trips, and all eating out, while her money she used for herself and her friends only. And when we had an argument, I was reminded that it was her house and I can move out any time. I don't know why I didn't move, because I was spending more than I used to when I was staying alone. Fellas, I repeat, do not move in to a girl's place. After a few years of dating, she just changed. The bedroom action went from 100 to 20 to 0 really quick. She started going out with her friends more, spent more time on her phone. She just really didn't care about us anymore. So I tried to talk to her, but she just dismissed me. So to escape the stress, I buried myself in my business. It started growing. At the end of 2 years, it was doing double what it did. It started booming, and I moved into a bigger office from 4 employees to 10. Year it was doing great. Our bedroom action was still low, maybe twice a month at that time. The good thing I did was keeping everything to do with the business away from Mary, so she didn't really know how much my company was making. One day when I was home watching a game, Mary comes to me and says she has some important thing that she needs to talk to me. Remember, I told this girl that I don't condone cheating, but I don't want to be married either. Thanks, Berkey. Mind you, this time, I'm just getting one S or twice a month on the bedroom. Her excuse was the stress of her work and stuff. So she sits me down and tells me she wants to open our relationship. Her friends have told her how it has helped their relationships and how they are enjoying them and stuff. I asked her to repeat what she said again. Mind you, I love this girl. She was the center of my universe. So I just thought about it like I didn't want to lose this girl. So I said, okay, fine. I agreed to it. She laid down the rules and stuff. I agreed to everything. This girl goes to take a shower changes and says she is starting with her open relationship. Not even 2 hours after she said this crap. Every 2 days she would go out and get a data. While leaving me behind, I tried to schedule dates with this girl. Tried to make home-cooked dinners for her. Tried buying expensive gifts for her with the hope that she will change her mind, but nothing. So one Saturday was so stressed about one project, I tried to take a walk by the park to clear my mind and just think about what my life has turned into. I met this Asian girl, I will call her Lynn, from Vietnam. She was in the States for her master's degrees, and she was already promised a job in some tech company when she finished. We started talking, then we exchanged numbers. We kept in touch with each other every single day for about a month, meeting when she was free and going out on dates. I told her about my situation and she didn't mind it at all. At this time in my home, the bedroom action was 0-0. We were basically brother and sister. One day, Mary was saying she wanted to cook dinner. I said, okay. When she was preparing dinner, I was on the phone with Lynn, laughing and enjoying my time. Then Mary asked me, who am I talking to? I told her everything, that it was some chick I met. She was happy, saying that I will also enjoy this open thing. Mind you, me and Lynn connected in a level that I have never connected to with any other girl. She would cook these Asian dishes and would always take care of me. When I suggest going out to expensive restaurants, she would refuse and say she will prepare something for us. She refused gifts and all that stuff. And the sex, wow, the sex was the best I've ever had. I'm still smiling when I think of the sex. Mary started noticing that I stopped taking her out to dates, stopped with gifts, and stopped cooking, or even eating at the house. She tried to initiate some sex, and I stopped her saying I was tired, and I went to take a shower and went to bed. As I slept, I was awoken by a hot slap across my face. It was Mary. She was going through my phone. She accused me of cheating and having an affair with Lynn. I then told her I only had a relationship with one girl, while she'd been humping the whole town every 2 weeks. She then demanded me to break it off with Lynn, and she now wants to close our relationship. I told her she was crazy and there is no way I'm breaking it off with Lynn. She then told me that she just slept with those guys and didn't invest any feelings, so it's not cheating while I have invested feelings on Lynn. I then reminded her that I told her I want a monogamous relationship, and she was the one who said we should open our relationship. While she was there screaming, I took her phone and opened it. I found out she had been cheating right from the day our sex went down, and for her to open relationship, it was just so she stopped coming up with excuses. I then took my phone and car keys and left and went to Lynn. I spent 2 weeks straight at Lynn's, and boy oh boy, I was dished to every day, both at the kitchen and at the bedroom. Wow. After the 2 weeks and countless amount of calls and SMS, I went to Mary's place to talk. She started talking about how sorry she was and we can save our relationship and all that crap. while I was packing my bags of all my stuff, that she will be faithful and will be the best girlfriend ever. I then told her that our relationship was dead way before the open relationship thing. She started yelling at me and say that hoe won't give you what I have. She is not pretty like her, which was true, but Lynn was not bad. Maybe a 6 compared to an 7.5 of Mary. I said it's okay. It was my choice. Then she started shouting, what does she have that she doesn't have? I looked at her and said she respects me and she listens to me. Closed the door behind me and left. After 2 years of dating Lynn, we got married. Yeah, I know I said I'm never getting married, but we married in her home country. We now have 3 beautiful girls, and that connection we had when we started, we still have it even today. We a bit old, I'm 40 and she is 38, but we still get it in like rabbits. The reason I still support Passport Bros, I met Mary a few weeks back. Damn, all I can say is I'm glad I ran from Thon. She is a single mother of 5 and had 4 failed marriages. Her face was killed by Botox. She is one of those ladies who don't want to accept that she got old and still thinks she is in their 20s. She asked about Lynn. I told her I married her and have 3 girls together. So true. Just want to say it worked out for me, and maybe you one day it will work out for you. And just glad that me agreeing to the open relationship thing has led me to the best woman in my life right now. I sold my architect business to some giant company for a few tens of millions, and they kept me as a consultant who works remotely. Lynn quit her job as well, and we went into farming, bought a huge land, and we started vegetable farming. Let's see another email. Story that might interest you. Dear True Story Nation, about 6 months ago, I discovered your posts on YouTube. I find many of them amusing and some disturbing. I think you'll enjoy this story from long ago. There is a long introduction to make the later events understandable. When I was in elementary school, I was kind of short and pudgy. Not obese, but definitely overweight. I started growing in the 8th grade and quickly became tall and skinny. I asked my dad what to do about building myself up. My dad was the quiet, stoic type who spoke little and let his actions speak for him. He was my best friend until he passed away. My mother had passed when I was very young, so it was always Dad and me. He said that weights, cardio, and diet would be my best friends, and bought me a nice used weight set and good running shoes. I found some books on exercise and started my journey. By the end of my freshman year, I was 6 feet tall and 215 pounds, very well muscled and in great shape. There was a physically challenged kid that attended my high school. Jimmy could walk but had a distinct gait or limp, and he weighed 90 pounds at the most. I didn't pay much attention to him until the first semester of my sophomore year. He had fallen and was having a difficult time standing up. Everyone was ignoring him, so I put one hand under his shoulder and lifted him to his feet. He smiled and thanked me, and I said that anytime he needed a lift to let me know. We both found that extremely funny, and it was the beginning of a lifelong friendship. I was a decent student, but Jimmy was an effing genius and had a quick and sometimes wicked sense of humor. He would help me with some of my challenging classes. He never did any of the work for me, but would explain and point me to books that would help me understand. This instilled a voracious appetite for reading that is still with me. One day in our senior year, I saw a bully from one of the lower classes giving Jimmy a hard time. He was standing in Jimmy's path and forcing him to go around. Bully would step in front of Jimmy again, laughing. I was taller and bigger than Bully, and I inserted myself between the two of them. I asked Jimmy if he needed any help, and he just smiled and said that he could use a lift. We both smiled. I turned my back to him, crouched down, and Jimmy grabbed my shoulders, and I carried him to his class. I knew where Bully lived, and that evening I went out for a run and decided to go past his house. I didn't see anything and kept going. A couple of blocks further, and I saw the asshat. He hadn't seen me, so I waited where he couldn't see me, and when he was walking past, I swung hard. Due to the awkward angle, I didn't connect really hard, but he went down face first. I went crazy, jumped on him, and pounded his back ribcage and ground his face into the dirt. After about a half dozen hits, I came to my senses and stopped. I picked him, dropped him at the door to his house, knocked, and ran away. No security cameras back then. I went home into my room and waited for the police to come for me. Nothing happened that night. The next day at school, someone told me that Bully had been attacked and had the shit beat out of him. Bully spent one night in the hospital and was at home. He didn't come to school for over a week, and when he returned, he was a different person, quiet and fearful. That night, I told my dad what had happened and what I had done. He listened without interrupting. When I was talked out, he said that I was lucky that Bully couldn't identify his attacker, and there were a large number of kids that wanted to do it, so I was safe. He told me, "You don't break the law until you get caught." I kind of knew what he meant. Don't tell anyone and I'd be fine. He then went on to explain that a man needs to have himself under control and to let the monster inside out only when absolutely necessary. I suddenly understood his quiet, stoic manner. He had a monster inside that he would not let it out. Now, that was a long story to explain my personality. I don't get upset about any issue that isn't life-altering. It is best to discuss, explain, and move on if an agreement isn't possible. Jimmy and I went to the same university and stayed close friends, him helping me with classes when I needed and me giving him a lift when he needed it. He started a computer software and consulting business after college and invited me to work there. I was the head of operations, and Jimmy was, of course, the brains. True friends are the best. Now here is the part your listeners want to hear. While working for Jimmy, I met Gloria. She was cute and funny and a few years younger than me. We started dating. Things were going well, and we were spending a lot of time together. I would discuss relationship issues when they arose. When I wanted to become exclusive, I sat down and explained what that meant to me. No relationships with anyone else. No flirting. No private meetings. Open and honest communication. She was always taken aback by my upfront, clear, and open communication style. She was much more emotional. She agreed. We weren't living together yet. I had a place and she was in the dorm. After being exclusive for about a year, she said that she wanted to talk to me about something. We sat down and she stated how she was younger and wanted to have more experiences. After watching your videos, True, I knew where this was heading. Shin went on to say that she wanted to see, date other people so she could experience more of life. Today they call it an open relationship. We talked for hours, and I asked if she felt that this was required for her to have a happy life. She said that it was. I then stated that she should feel free to find those experiences that would make her happy. I was crushed, but didn't want to let her know. The next morning, she got ready for school and left. I called Jimmy, explained what we had talked about, and told him that I would be in after lunch. While crying, I carefully packed up the few things that Gloria had at my place and delivered them to her dorm room. I included a note that this relationship wasn't something I was interested in and that I would not be seeing her anymore. I wished her happiness with her life. That evening, I was having a beer with a few friends at our usual place. We were talking about life and love, and they were trying to cheer me up. I explained that Gloria and I were at different points in our journeys and that I would get past this and move on. Then Gloria showed up. She had been crying. She was calling me a controlling bastard, that I couldn't handle an independent woman. I just stared at her. I told her that I thought that the note had said everything, that needed to be said. She was shouting about how all men were controlling bastards and women didn't need them. There was a table nearby with three women sitting at it. I got up, went to their table, and said that I would buy them a round if they would help resolve a disagreement with my ex-girlfriend. They were a little perplexed, but agreed to hear me out. They came to the table where Gloria was still crying. I explained our relationship, Gloria's request to change the relationship, my agreeing that since this was a requirement for her happiness, that she should pursue it. I further explained that I wanted a monogamous relationship, so I had returned her belongings and wished her a happy life. They were surprised at how clearly I stated the situation. They tried to ask Gloria some questions, but she wasn't in an emotional state to give a coherent answer. The woman finally said that I was in no way controlling, that I might be reserved emotionally, but that was just my personality. They told Gloria that she should move on and find someone that fit her goals. I thanked the women and went to the bar and told the bartender that their tab was on me for the evening. When I returned to my friend's table, Gloria was gone. The friends were discussing how what I had done was the most badass thing they had ever seen. I simply said that things happen in life and how we react defined who we were. Thanks, Dad. When the three women left, one of them stopped by our table. She said her name was Betty and she hoped I was going to be okay and that if I needed to talk to give her a call. We exchanged numbers at her insistence. Several days later, I got a call from Betty. She asked if I remembered her. I said that I did. She asked how I was doing and offered to take me to dinner to cheer me up. Betty was pretty and very self-confident, and I agreed. We had a wonderful evening. She shared my love of reading and exercise. She is smart, funny, and articulate. We started dating, and the rest, they say, is history. Jimmy passed when he was in his early 40s. He had never married or even has a serious relationship. To my utter shock, he left most of the company to me. Jimmy was always the brains when we started, but he had hired other geniuses along the way and had left each of them a partial ownership. My life with Betty was good. Kids, grandkids, traveling, more than I could have wished for. Some of Jimmy's genius seemed to have rubbed off on my kids. They took over the company when I wanted to retire. Betty and I traveled until one day she didn't feel right. Cancer took her in less than a year. I am old now. I still read and work out some. I live in a suite attached to one of my kids' homes. I see them and the grandchildren regularly. I have only let the monster out a few times in all these years. That was all I needed to.